America's changing attitudes towards marijuana have been well documented, certainly in the last few years. 26 states now have allowed legal or decriminalized medical marijuana. 59% of Americans now support total legalization. I'm talking even for recreational use. And of course, 2 states, you know them, Washington and Colorado, have actually legalized the drug outright, leading to economic boosts and also tax windfalls. But so far, there has been little movement to legalize marijuana in our region. That is till now. A new bill announced in New Jersey, it would treat marijuana essentially the same way as beer, legal for adults with penalties if used unsafely. Now, earlier today, I spoke with New Jersey State Senator Nicholas Scutari. He's a Democrat from Linden who has sponsored that bill. And what makes his sponsorship so interesting, to me at least, is we're talking about a senator that is also a municipal prosecutor. Was it tough at all reconciling the prosecutor in you with the legislator who says that the laws, at least on the books right now in New Jersey, don't make a lot of sense?
Actually, it's not tough at all. In fact, it gives me a particular perspective on our New Jersey drug laws as they're enforced, because I've been enforcing them for 20 years, working with them for 20 years, and 12 years as a prosecutor, and now the chief prosecutor in Linden. I take that role very seriously, and I enforce the laws that are on the books just as they're written. But as the state senator, I've come to the realization that our drug war and these drug laws, particularly as they meet with marijuana, have failed miserably for our public and for the safety of our citizens. And I think it's time to now look at this differently. Talk about the revenue stream, talk about the failed drug wars and policies, talk about all the people we have in jails and all the people that we have with unnecessary criminal records, which disparately affects them as they go forward with life, trying to get a job, trying to go to college, things of that sort.
I'll get to the math in a second, but is it that you say, let's wave the white flag because this is a fight we just can't win? Or you're saying that this is a fight that's not worth having, period? Marijuana, as you see it, should not be criminalized anymore, even recreationally.
I think both, quite frankly. I mean, if we look at history, and we are students of history, we see that the prohibition of alcohol back in the early part of the last century did not work. In fact, all it did was create a criminal enterprise, and we lost untold amounts of wealth here in the United States of America. And now what we're doing with this failed war on marijuana is sending all of our citizens' money to people that would do us harm. So not only do I feel as though it shouldn't be illegal, for on the merits, it's not a winnable war, and that's been proven over and over again.
What about the arguments, I'm sure maybe even constituents have said, hey, Senator, this is a gateway drug, you legalize this. The next thing you know, we're going to be talking about coke, and you've seen the heroin explosions throughout not just New Jersey, but across this country. What about the gateway aspect of marijuana?
I reject that wholly, based upon my experience as a prosecutor, as a lawyer, and a citizen in New Jersey. It's not a gateway drug any more than alcohol or tobacco is, and that's how we should treat it. We're not talking. Heroin is a very dangerous drug, and that's what we should be concentrating our efforts on. That and the prescription drug epidemic that's is striking this state and this country, which is driving the heroin addiction. What we're talking about is marijuana. Regulating it, taxing it, licensing it, ensuring that our citizens are safe and have a pure product that they are going to participate in, because they're doing it anyway. You go down the street from this office or any of the number of studios that I filmed today in, and you can get marijuana quite easily, but there are no safeguards in place to ensure that our citizens are getting a safe product. Now, the argument can be made, why don't we make it illegal and then everybody will stop doing it? Well, we've tried that for 100 years and it hasn't worked. So it's time to try something different. I mean, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. And we've done that already. Now it's time to try to move forward for the benefits of our citizens here and the taxpayers, because of the mathematics involved in the numerous amounts of money that we can save and generate.
To that end, Senator, we've seen what's happened in Washington State and Colorado. I know the governor's on record in New Jersey is opposing this. What are you hearing, though, behind closed doors in Trenton, in both the Assembly and Senate, or even some people that, might surprise the public? You don't have to put names to it. Do you think the public would be surprised in an up or down vote how many people, if they voted their conscience, would vote with you?
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, privately, the conversations have been extremely positive amongst members of the legislature. Now, getting them to go from that private conversation to the board to put a vote forward, well, that's an educational process that will take moving forward. So you'd be surprised how positive people are in their private conversations with myself. But in terms of public opinion poll here, I think that it's overwhelmingly positive that we should legalize this substance, tax it, regulate it, and reap the monetary benefits for the citizens in New Jersey.
Well, we're at the beginning level of this debate here, and I know you're going to be at the front of it, Senator. I appreciate a few minutes. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Okay, so here's the question, guys. Now the way, forget about when you were in Albany, the Albany today, Richard, and the Albany today, not the one when you were there with the governor, conscious, not Trenton, Albany, would they want to vote for this? For the economic?
Yeah, there are votes for this in both houses. Tom Libous, a distinguished Republican senator who's undergoing treatment for prostate cancer, has said it was something that he'd look at seriously. Anybody who's been through the mill.
Medical, Richard, huge difference.
Yeah, I'm talking about recreational.
Recreational would be a very, very, look, they are scrambling right now. I think they get medicinal marijuana this session, but it is still a battle that is not
It's a step on the way towards
no
legalizing.
question, Richard, but you asked, but the question was today.
Yeah.
Medicinal is the first step. All of this, medicinal is polling at 83% in New York. Recreational is polling in the low 50s, 53. They said 55 here. The economic for medicinal marijuana would be between 190 and 290 million dollars in the state. They are still, the fight has been to prove to upstate Republican senators, look, it is polling in Republican Senate districts at 77% in New York. They're ready for medicinal, they're not ready for recreational.
Doesn't Colorado and Washington give cover?
No, because nobody, and Richard's a lifelong New Yorker. Look, no one cares about other states. This is our state, so we're not going to be dictated.
Go easy, because if what you're saying is this is purely a matter of what the polls show, you're doing a disservice to the people who need the medical marijuana. Sooner or later, the Republican Party, like it has to do on gay marriage, is going to have to look at this and say, we got to figure out what to do, what's right, not what's
I'm not talking medicinal. I'm talking recreational.
But we live in a world of listen, I am in favor of it. I'm in favor of moving towards legalizing recreational marijuana.
I understand you're making it mandatory.
What I'm saying is that the argument needs to be made, and this is one of those where gay marriage as well. This is moving faster than gay marriage ever did, and I think that it's very generational, because now you have the 65-year-olds who were smoking weed in the late 60s. So I think give it a couple of more years, the recreational will come. The first step is medicinal marijuana.
Just one note on medicinal before I move. This part of the country, our region, is well behind the rest of the country when it comes to medicinal marijuana, and it's kind of a shame. New York State still hasn't gone anywhere more than dipping a big toe in it. New Jersey approved this under John Corzine, and Chris Christie has been slowing the process down as best he possibly can because he doesn't really want to see it implemented in New Jersey. As for recreational marijuana, I mean, it's happening. People are smoking marijuana for recreational reasons, and we've gone through the numbers time and time again. The disproportionate number of arrests for minority men, particularly young men, and the impacts that it has on their lives.
Whereas, to his point, Dominic, two things he said. Okay, you'll disagree with it. Two things he said that stuck out to me was, here's a guy, there's no political downside, it seems, for throwing out what he's going to say. It won't pass, Christie's not going to approve it. But you know what? There was no risk really to what he did. And secondly, his point that it's clogging up the judicial system here. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I'll be honest with you. I'm a little conflicted on the recreational, but I get the argument, and his point is to say, you really want the courts to be spending all that time on this when they should be spending it on somebody else? You know how tough it is to get on the docket?
But let's look at the flip side of that. If you want to finish off minority men, make marijuana use, recreational use, legal in this country. It's already devastating communities of color. And we're going to go with the additional step. And I get offended at hearing, oh, it's going to bring in an additional $200 million. No offense. Politicians spend money. They spend every dime. So you give them another $200 million, and another year, the budget shortfall will be $300 million. And so what's the point? They're going to spend every dime that you give them.
He made that point. I didn't. The fact of the matter is that if you're going to be for prohibition, Dominic, be for prohibition on the stuff that's causing the major damage, which is alcohol. You can't have it both ways.
Marijuana is causing major damage in a
more
lot
so
of
than
communities.
alcohol?
I don't know. Marijuana.
More than alcohol? You don't have the right data.
Well, here's the data that I have. When I'm in different housing projects around the city and I see the impact that it's having on kids.
You don't see the impact of alcohol in those
I
same
didn't
places.
say that.
Which is worse.
You made a comparison of which is worse,
And
I'm not ready to answer that as of yet. But I know the
Make 'em
devastating impact that marijuana is having.
But we know we're not going to have a prohibition of alcohol. And I'm just asking both of you politically now, because you say New York doesn't follow, Washington State or Colorado. I grant you on both that, okay? But it's happened already. This isn't some possible thing. It's happened
by voter referendum. I mean, there was no political courage on behalf of elected officials in those states.
They took no.
And we have yet to see anything develop on recreational marijuana along the lines of what the state senator from New Jersey is trying to do and actually have it pass the legislature.
Right, you
and
guys
there is
think
no
we
New
see-
York, certainly you have.
for legalized marijuana.
You have in the assembly, and there's the will to do it there, but you have not seen it in the Republican
Again,
Senate.
but you're talking medicinal, okay?
No.
You're talking recreational.
Assemblyman Godfrey would have it passed where we'd be smoking it right now,
He's
right?
gone decriminalized. I'm not sure if he's gone all the way to legal.
No,
He
we're
would love to.
partisan here. The fact of the matter is that the Democrats in the state assembly and a portion of the Democrats in the state Senate would support a dramatic expansion of the legal use of marijuana. But that's the big picture.
But the parsing that you're bringing up,
Right.
Richard, is the difference between being able to regulate and tax it and make sure that it's distributed in a proper way. Otherwise, it's still done.
I don't know that regulating and taxing goes to the essential public policy argument, which Dominic makes, which is that it's dangerous. You can tax it, you cannot tax it, you can regulate it, not regulate it. The issue is Dominic right about its disproportionate impact? I think he's wrong. I think the facts and the evidence show that. If I'm right, then we should all get over
Less
it. and
dangerous
do
if
it
it's
for it.
regulated.
I got
and
another
taxed.
debate for the table right after that, and that is what we have straight ahead. It's a battle over religious and reproductive freedoms. Now, it's not just some conceptual thing. This is happening in the highest court of the land tonight in Washington. Should corporations be entitled to religious exemptions? Now, Supreme Court justices, they're figuring this out as we speak. We're going to have a look at how the Hobby Lobby case is challenging not just Obamacare here, but where the rights start and stop when it comes to companies and religion.